This includes documentation such as mortgage records and sworn statements, as well as a federal referral already in the hands of the Department of Justice. We're not going to spin it. We're not going to chop it up.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.
Welcome to the Publisher's Desk, where we go beyond the headlines and bring you the truth, raw and unfiltered. Tonight, we bring you a voice that's sending shockwaves through New York politics. Sam Antar, yes, the same man who helped expose one of the biggest white-collar frauds in American history, is now the whistleblower in a case involving none other than New York Attorney General Letitia James. If his name sounds familiar, it should. Sam Antar has been a guest on our Sunday show, People Before Politics, where he gave us a preview of what you're about to hear. This isn't speculation. This includes documentation such as mortgage records and sworn statements, as well as a federal referral already in the hands of the Department of Justice. We're not going to spin it. We're not going to chop it up. You're about to hear his full speech unedited as it was delivered. Watch, listen, and ask yourself, if he's lying, why hasn't she sued him for defamation? Here's Sam Antar.
Thank you, everybody, for having me here. But before I start, how many people know who Letitia James is? Attorney General? Okay, good. Makes it easier. Makes my life easier. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, both here and in Brooklyn and watching on X. Thank you for joining me tonight at the Donald J. Trump Kings County Republican Club. My name is Sam Antar. I'm a forensic accountant. I'm a whistleblower. And yes, I am a former fraudster. As the CFO of Crazy Eddie in the 1980s, I orchestrated one of the largest securities frauds of that era. I served my time, and in the last 30 years, I dedicated my life to exposing financial misconduct, working with the FBI, the SEC, and other agencies to uncover the truth. I am also a lifelong Democrat and have no connection to Donald Trump, his campaign, or his legal team, strictly because I believe in accountability, no matter who you are or what party you belong to. Tonight, we're talking about corruption in New York, into Attorney General Letitia James. This isn't about politics. It's about the law. It's about the documents. And as I said earlier today on X, the documents don't lie. And I'm willing to walk through every single one of them line by line. So let me begin with the paper trail of Letitia James's deception. Let's start with the facts. My investigation of Letitia James began with public records, documents that anybody can access if they know where to look. What I found was a pattern of fraud that spans decades, involving three properties: 604 Sterling Street and 3121 Perone Avenue in Norfolk, Virginia, and 296 Lafayette Avenue right here in our home borough of Brooklyn. But before we dive into these properties, let me mention something very crucial. On August 18th, 2025, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, a federal regulator, issued a criminal referral to the Department of Justice regarding Letitia James. That James falsified bank documents and property records to acquire government-backed assistance and loans and more favorable loan terms. This isn't just my investigation anymore. It's a federal criminal matter. Let's talk about the Virginia property. I call it a sworn lie. which has been the center of recent attention. On August 23rd, 2023, Letitia James co-signed a $240,000 mortgage to purchase a house in Virginia with her niece, Shamise Thompson Hairston. To secure that loan, James signed a notarized power of attorney on August 17, 2023, declaring that she intended to occupy the residence property as her principal residence. This wasn't a casual statement. It was a legal requirement to qualify for owner-occupied loan terms, which come with lower interest rates and better conditions. Here's where it gets interesting. The power of attorney was witnessed by two officials within her own office. Jennifer Levy, First Deputy Attorney General, who played a role in the Donald Trump fraud case, and Sharona Parchment, another New York Attorney General staff member. These aren't random witnesses. These senior officials, who presumably understood exactly what James was declaring when she signed the document. They knew the legal implications of a sitting attorney general declaring her intent to establish residency in another state. But here is the problem. James, she never intended to live there. She admitted as much in a speech 2 days ago. On May 20th, 2025, she claimed it was a mistake. She said she told the mortgage broker 2 weeks earlier, on August 2nd, 2023, in an email, "This property will not be my primary residence. It will be Shamise's primary residence." And she even doubled down the next day, telling her broker the property I will not be a Virginia resident, and I never will be. So let's break this all down. If James knew that she wasn't going to live in Virginia and sent out 2 emails saying it, right? Why did she sign a sworn statement saying that she would live in Virginia 2 weeks later? That power of attorney is not a side note. Excuse me for a second. That power of attorney is not a side note. It was filed with the deed and mortgage, witnessed by 2 New York Attorney General officials, and used to close the deal. James had months to correct that power of attorney, to correct the mortgage, which was underwritten based upon that power of attorney, but she never did. Instead, she launched a civil trial case against Donald Trump in Manhattan on October 2nd, 2023, while her mortgage agreement said she should be living in Virginia. So picture this. You got the Donald Trump trial coming along, everything, right? And here she is committing mortgage fraud. Unreal. Unreal. James now claims that the email to a broker was the truth, and the sworn statement was a mistake. I can tell you, as a former felon myself, we all make mistakes. We never stop people. But in real estate, what matters is what's signed, and what's notarized, and what's recorded, not an unfiled email sent weeks earlier. If she never intended to live in Virginia, then she lied under perjury to get a loan that she was not eligible for. That's not a mistake. That is mortgage fraud. It's a 22-year pattern of fraud. It didn't stop here. And of course, we're talking about the Brooklyn property. Since 2001, the official certificate of occupancy has classified the building as a 5-unit building. But for 22 years, James has filed at least 10 mortgage applications describing it as a 4-unit dwelling or even a 1 or 2 family residence. Why does that matter? Because misrepresenting the unit count can qualify her for residential loan products, including federal HAMP relief, which I'll get into later. That is only available for smaller owner-occupied properties, not commercial 5-unit buildings. In other words, buildings with units 4 or less, they're considered residential, get better rates, cheaper insurance. Units 5 or more have to pay commercial rates, have to pay higher insurance, and they have to pay larger down payment. It's a pattern. It's a scheme known in the real estate world as the Big Fours. Let me explain what that means. Before the 2008 housing crisis, there was a widespread fraud scheme whereby insiders would misclassify 5 or 6 unit buildings as 4-family homes to get cheaper residential financing instead of commercial loans. It often involved, and this is important to understand, collusion. It often involved mortgage brokers, appraisers, title companies, and attorneys. Yes, attorneys, working together to hide the truth. This scheme was so pervasive that it contributed to the housing bubble and subsequent financial collapse of our economy. Thousands of these loans ended up mortgage-backed securities, poisoning our financial system. James's filing follows the exact playbook. And physical evidence backs it up. First, the Con Ed records show 6 electrical meters for the property, 1 for common areas and 5 for each appointment. That matches the property's classification, not the mortgage forms. And second, Joel and I visited the property. Joel Gilbert, another financial journalist, whatever, visited the property. We actually visited and we saw 5 doorbells, 1 doorbell for each property. But also I want to give credit where credit is due. Investigative journalist Joel Gilbert of Gateway Pundit was the first to uncover James's HAMP fraud scheme, revealing how she received the federal modification she wasn't eligible for. And of course, Joel and I later visited the property where we confirmed that she had 5 doorbells, 1 for each apartment. For years, Letitia James has been prosecuting landlords for this type of fraud. And now she's caught doing the same thing and has the audacity to call it retribution. Unreal. We'll get to that, don't worry.
The unmitigated gall.
To the property in Brooklyn. At 3121 Peroni Avenue in Norfolk, Virginia, a property James purchased in August 2020, we see the same playbook in action. James bought this property for $137,000 with a $109,600 mortgage from OVM Financial. But here's the kicker. She never disclosed this mortgage from OVM on any of her financial disclosure forms from 2020 to the latest year that's available, 2024. Not once. Mortgage was supposed to be disclosed, never disclosed. This is a clear violation of Public Officers Law 73A, which requires disclosure of all mortgages on income-producing properties. Now it gets worse. In 2023, she suddenly reports 2 different mortgages for this property. One from Freedom Mortgage, $150,000 to $250,000, and another from National Mortgage for $100,000 to $150,000. But guess what? I'm not going to just look at these forms. I commissioned an independent title search. Yes, it cost me some money, but what is it? Neither of these properties exists in the property. Neither of these mortgages exists in the property records. The only mortgage that appears is the original OVM mortgage that was never disclosed. So think about that. She reports 2 mortgages, I'll call them phantom mortgages, that don't exist while hiding the real mortgage that does. And all three mortgages together, it adds up to 272% of the value of the underlying property using her stated values. The Virginia property also shows another troubling pattern. Vanishing rental income. James reported 1 to 5,000 in rental income for the property in 2020, and in every year since, she hasn't reported any rental income. And given her history of failing to disclose rental income from her Brooklyn property, which was exposed by Cranes many years ago, until she was caught by the media, this raises questions about whether she's again hiding income on the properties. But her defense now is to deflect and deny, and I get it. I was a crook once, so I can understand what she's doing. 2 days ago, on May 20th, James spoke at a power breakfast and gave an interview to CBS News. She said the DOJ probe into her was nothing more than retribution for a $455 million judgment against Donald Trump. She called it baseless. She said that her Virginia residency declaration, that power of attorney I spoke to you about before, was a mistake, pointing to that email that she sent the broker. In other words, the power of attorney is a mistake because the email I sent the broker was 2 weeks earlier saying I didn't intend to occupy the property. But she signs a sworn power of attorney 2 weeks later that she's going to occupy the property, and the mortgage is underwritten based on that power of attorney. Anyway, you know what it is? Prosecutors make shitty criminals. Anyway, let's be clear. Her defense doesn't hold up. If the email was the truth, why didn't she correct the power of attorney before signing it? Why didn't she amend the mortgage after it closed? She had months to fix it, and she didn't. And what about the Brooklyn property? She can't blame Trump for 22 years of fraud. She was committing fraud on her Brooklyn property from the day she bought it in 2001. At that time, I think Trump was a Democrat. You know, these people used to go in front of the cameras, unquestioned by these lapdog reporters, and this is the kind of garbage you get from this. I hate to say it. And as a criminal, listen, I loved it too as a criminal, because they believed all my BS when I was reporting crazy investigation. She also complained that they got individuals coming to my house. Yes, Letitia. You know what that's called? It's called investigative journalism. You don't need orders from Donald Trump for people to come to your house and visit the scene of the crime. All you need is a conscience and a camera. And of course, she was referring to me and Joe Gilbert going to visit her house and taking pictures of her doorbell. Standing outside her house isn't harassment. It's called due diligence. When Joel and I visited her Brooklyn property to count those 5 doorbells and prove her fraud, we weren't there on Trump's orders. We were there because the truth matters. James wants you to believe this baloney is all political. Her crimes are, the accusations against her are all political. But I'm a Democrat. I have no ties to Donald Trump. The FBI agrees this isn't political. CBS confirmed on May 20th that FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Donald Bongino are overseeing this case directly, and they're treating it as a matter of great importance. That's not retribution, that's justice. The hypocrisy of Letitia James. Letitia James built a career on fighting corruption. She's gone after landlords, businesses, and even Trump for financial misrepresentations. But when the tables are turned, she cries foul. On May 20th, she ended her speech with the bravado, "My message is clear. Don't harm my city. Don't harm my state. Otherwise, you got me to go through." But who's harming New York? A public official who swears to uphold the law, yet spends decades breaking it? For personal gain? That's who Letitia James is. She benefited from better loans, federal relief, and other financial advantages that she just wasn't entitled to. And when she's caught, she blames everyone but herself. Like a true criminal. This morning I posted on X, Letitia James is welcome to join me anytime, anywhere, in any venue, live on camera with the public watching. She can bring a lawyer for support, like a support dog, and discuss the matter with me. I stand by every word of my investigation. I'm ready to go through these documents with her line by line. I repeat that challenge tonight. Tish, the offer stands. If you are confident that this is baseless, face me. What am I? I'm just an old convicted felon. You shouldn't be afraid of me. Let's put the documents on the table. You've got nothing to hide. While Tish James is the focus tonight, she's not the only one. New York, just look at the state budget recently passed. $254 billion package that includes legal fees like Letitia James facing federal probes. Some are calling it $10 million taxpayer-funded slush funds to protect her from accountability. You know, that's your money, folks, being used to shield the power from the consequences of their actions. But not $1 of it that she spends of your money is going to erase one single signature on those falsified mortgages. So she can spend all the money she wants. In my book, she's guilty. That's why I'm here today at the Republican Club. Yes, as a Democrat, but as an American first, who believes justice for all New Yorkers, regardless of power. I'll wrap it up with this. I've been on the wrong side of law. 16 years worth. No, it was 18 years. I'm sorry. I know what it's like to lie, to cheat, and to think you're untouchable. I also know what it's like to face consequences and to spend the rest of my life making amends. Letitia James hasn't learned that lesson yet. She's still deflecting, she's still denying, and she's still hiding behind excuses. But the documents don't lie. The FBI is investigating, the FHFA has made a criminal referral, the truth is coming out, and tonight I am asking you to hold her accountable. Share this story. The man answers. Don't let the powerful rewrite the rules just because they're not in charge. I'll open this up to Q&A shortly. Nothing is off limits. You can ask me anything, like the loot I still have with the crazy Eddie Floyd. I don't have it. Thank you for being me here. I just want to say a special thanks to community advocate Tina Brown for unwavering moral support throughout this investigation, and to these YouTubers, these YouTube channels that have been covering this very, very closely where the mainstream media wasn't. Black Westchester, Robert Rivera, and God bless you all. And I open myself up to any questions you have.
You just heard Sam Antar, loud, clear, and unapologetic. The facts are now public. The question is whether the media and elected officials will continue to ignore them. This is bigger than party politics. If these documents are real and no one has refuted them, then New York's top law enforcement officer could be facing her legal reckoning. Here at the Publisher's Desk and People Before Politics, we'll continue to do what the mainstream media won't. Follow the facts wherever they lead. Please subscribe, leave a comment, and share this video. Check out the Letitia James investigation playlist to follow the evidence that may lead to a guilty or not guilty verdict. And if you want more stories like this from the Black point of view, stay locked in to Black Westchester. We don't work for them. We report for you. They silence our voices, but we wear the truth. Stand up, speak loud. Let your shirt say what they won't let you post. Support independent media. Buy the Freedom is Not Free shirt on sale now. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like and share it with others who need to hear the truth. And for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes access, join the Black Westchester Magazine YouTube membership club today. Your support helps us keep independent Black media strong. Support independent Black media with style. Rock Black Westchester merch and represent the news with the Black point of view. Every purchase helps us speak truth to power.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.